Blessings, everyone, and welcome to the Becoming BioQuantum podcast. I am so honored to have our guest today, John Burgos. A lot of you know John, and I always hear the comments when you come on the show, John, that I love John. He's so amazing, and I'm going to back that up and say yes, yes, you are. You are just you're not only bring the most amazing conversations, but just the energy you hold is so pure and. Everyone can feel that. And so, with that, John, I'm going to let you introduce yourself and then we'll get into the juicy topic.
Oh my goodness. How do I introduce myself? A lot of y'all may know me from Beyond the Ordinary Show. If you do know of me, it's probably where you know me from. And I get to host like the most epic conversations with the most epic speakers who Jules has been a part of and will be again. And it's just a delight to do that and to be in that high vibrational frequency on a consistent basis, 3 times, 4 times a week in interviews. It's just how that's inspired my life has been beyond incredible. And that's why we call the show Beyond the Ordinary, because it's always raising to another octave. What else is possible from that place? Other than that, I really consider myself as I really deepen in and kind of take claim to what I bring. It's really very mystical energy. I do consider myself a mystic and explore the different worlds, and it has shamanic qualities to it because, and all of you may have that also because you're willing to explore places where other peoples don't go and you're willing to bring back information and share it and translate it. And so it's a joy and an honor to get to have those experiences and to kind of claim that path for myself as we kind of forge ahead.
I love how you just described that because I feel how we're all going to start to kind of move into the evolved human or whatever it is to experience our higher selves on a daily basis. And however we want to put, there's so many different words that we could describe what that is. Or how I like to describe it is that we start to activate our 12-strand DNA system and we start to operate through that technology, which connects us to source. And we always have these little juicy things that come through that are there to be shared with others. And that's what we're going to talk about today is the truth around about the Great Awakening. And when you brought that topic, I was like, oh, this is going to be so good. So, with that, I'm going to turn it over to you and tell us I don't know what, I don't even know how to ask that question. Like, what is the truth about the Great Awakening?
Well, and maybe it's a reframe about our perception of the Great Awakening. Um, for a long time, we have felt that, okay, it's happening and there's a surge happening, and these different things that are occurring in our culture, in our political environments, in educational systems, in our daily lives. I would say, okay, where's the promise of the Great Awakening happening? We're supposed to be in that time. We're age of Aquarius, we're in a time beyond 2000, we have all this technology coming in, and it's wonderful. But I really feel that we're finally stepping into really the aspect, the truth of what the Great Awakening is promising. And one of the truths is that to be a Great Awakening, that there had to be a great sleep.
Mm,
And where we were in a hibernation to the spirit and the light that we be, that we were asleep to the amazing chemistry that runs through us and having a relationship with it so that we can alchemize it into higher states of being, awaken the DNA strands, awaken the wiring within us that unravels the vortex of the heart. That's what's amplifying this being that we're in. So we're really just finally, according to my perception and my experiences, stepping into the Great Awakening. And the Great Awakening is going to bring with it an awareness of where we weren't willing to look at things in the way that would have had the discernment and the power to catalyze a trajectory that would have been on a higher potential thread than what we're experiencing now.
Mm,
But it's all perfect. And the thing is that during this time, during this great awakening, we get to not only be more sober with the reality of what's occurring, but we also get to be more sober with the access to that divine light that we have access to simultaneously. We can awaken to both worlds and bridge the gap. It's not about going beyond the other world and leaving something behind.
mhm,
It's about waking up from the sleep and merging that place where the beautiful dream, the visions that we had, can bring forward and hold those places where the nightmares maybe were creeping in. And it all gets to be elevated into a new consciousness and a way of co-creating like we've never experienced before. It really is a great awakening. We've been feeling it for a long time. We thought we were in it, and I just really believe that we're just finally stepping into the promise of what it's here to bring.
that gave me chills. You know what I keep saying that we had our pre-awakening, which was our education time. It was preparing us for where we're going into right now. And because there has to be a level of mastery in the awakening so that we can build a reality around that frequency of consciousness that's being held there. And if we hadn't had the practice and the focus on what that awakening was going to be beforehand, then, there may not be as many of us that are aware enough that all that has to be left behind. And it's time to focus from that light space that you are speaking. And it's not necessarily that it's being left behind, it's just ascending, right? It's like the old paradigm is not the focus anymore, and that it's opening up to a new way. And in that new way, we don't repeat the patterns from the past. We let those go and we bring in a new way. And to do that, we have to focus on what hasn't been created before. So I'll let you kind of respond to that.
No, I love that you bring that in and focus as a state of, I'll call it a state of devotion,
Great word.
right? And really drop into the essence of that word because some of us are really good at being myopic and going directly for the goal and having that focus, right? And it's just this determination that's built within you. Jules, you're amazing at your focus and so clear. And you bring the mind and heart and being into creation. And for a lot of people who maybe aren't wired that way, or even if you are, what's that heart calling that is calling you to that focus? What is it that makes you say, no, I'm going to keep moving forward? What is it that exerts your will into creating something out of nothing?
Mm,
And one of the practices in is to find the inspiration and find what is driving us if we can tune into what are we truly devoted to? And if you can open up your heart and surrender and commit to that devotion
mhm,
without waver, without waver. If it's in a high octave, it's if you're adjusting your vision and things, of course, there's going to be shifts. But the essence of your devotion, your love, your creativity, your service, your connection to the divine, or even the reverence to your physical body and the wonders that it's unraveling as you're unraveling,
mhm.
that commitment to devotion is, if you're really tuned in, that's going to guide you through everything.
I love that you said that. We were kind of joking before we got on, what is your goal for this year, or what are you manifesting this year? And my response was like, oh, do people still do that? Because what you're saying is that that devotion is that listen and do. And that's, I think, so important as we are moving into the creation of this new earth, this within this great awakening, because the frequencies are here to support us in doing that. It's not about what we desire. It's about how can we be of service, and that takes a level of devotion to devote to the frequency of creation over what our desires are. And that doesn't mean that we ignore the things that maybe come in that bring desire, but we always want to check in to is this connected to the devotion to the light, or is it in an interference? And I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, I love the concept of desire, right? Because it's, oh, there's so many different ways that we can go with this. But first of all, it's when we desire something, how often do we really drop in and ask, why do I really desire this?
Right.
Why is it, if I have this, how is that going to help me realize more of myself? And desires are amazing. Desires are also a focal point for experiencing beauty. And beauty is an amplification of light is amazing. It's like one of the standards that if we start focusing more on the beauty that surrounds us rather than on the things that are going wrong,
Mm.
what we do to raise the capacity for the frequency of all is emanated through our being because we're being in the experience of that higher light. And so focus onto beauty, like really as a practice. They call it the beauty way. But if you can amplify from that place, if you can make that your job, which by the way, it's probably the best job in the world to bring beauty into your life. If you want to be of service, I would suggest you sign up for that one rather than the savior thing or all those other things, unless you're really called. Um, but when you're amplifying and you're in co-creation and in receivership of that high vibrational frequency, everything shifts. Your spiritual body awakens even greater. Your physical body starts to produce new chemistry, starts producing new dopamine, starts producing new mitochondria. It starts shifting and altering. We start reverse aging. We start getting more vitality into our lives. We begin to be more creative from that creative space. Anything that is of a lower frequency, we can see more clearly and we can help to provide, if not an example of what's possible, maybe even creative solutions for what was once impossible.
I love that, and I heard a couple of things in there, and there's one little space I wanted to go back to, and where's the desire coming from? Because that is the focal point anytime we make a decision based on that. And I've been kind of sitting in this too, and of course this is a big part of my work is where are you choosing from? And are we choosing from our programming and looping in cycles? Or are we choosing through that divine guidance? And a lot of times the inspiration, and inspiration is definitely a little different than desire because inspiration is a different frequency. For me, it's a little bit pure because inspiration is that channel to source. And then there may be desire within that inspiration. But I love how you said, where's the desire coming from? Because I think that that is a level of that devotion and discipline to see, okay, is this coming from a desire to have something that I don't have? Or is this a desire within the inspiration so that I can stay in that co-creation? So I'd love to just maybe go back to that one question because you went to this beautiful place of what it is like to live from the beauty of that. But there's another side of that I think that's worth looking at so that we all have the awareness of, okay, I'm either doing this or this, because it's really that easy. We just have to know what the two are.
Right. Yeah, I love that you bring this up. And again, just simple awareness. It's like that is mastery when you get back to the simplicity
Mhm.
of what's really there. It's like, oh, it was so easy. I was complicated in all these other ways. Which, we have beautiful minds that get to do that. But to bring it back as far as again, inspiration for me is divine. So I love that you brought that up. It's just it's a different energy. Um, but that wanting something, that desiring something, when we ask, is this desire? Am I wanting this because it's filling a belief or something within my system that doesn't believe I'm enough? Is this filling a place of, oh, I've got fears of abandonment, and this is helping me to feel safe in a place where I didn't feel safe before because I couldn't find it? Is this satiating a place where, well, if I achieve this, then I did something that other people around me couldn't do? And is it pride that you're satiating, and comparison, that's being satiated? Is there something in receiving being right
Mm,
and being right that is being right going to get you the relationship or the connection with others that you want? And so, again, really looking at the different aspects of our not enoughness. It's I'm not good enough, I'm not seen, um, I'm not supported, I'm not a priority, I can't be loved for who I am. And we find that any of those requests are feeding those limiting thoughts. And if you can really see those requests as only satiating them temporarily, not being the real elixir that we're looking for to fill those holes, then we know that those particular desires are can maybe turned into higher requests from the universe, higher requests from source, and saying, okay, thank you for this and thank you for this request, but how can it be this but better? How can I take it to the next level because I'm ready to go beyond my depth and swim in new waters that I haven't explored before, because it's time for me to expand beyond the suffering of the self-imposed limitations that I've carried based on the experiences that I've had. And I say self-imposed only because we keep churning them and looping them in our brain like they're still real, like they're still happening. And so to get out of the loop, Jules, like you teach so beautifully, um, it really shifts what's possible. But again, to have that inquisition as to why the desire and to map them out with those not enough statements
mm.
that I brought up, really is a beautiful roadmap to begin with.
So just taking it back to that space of knowing where the desire comes from is everything. And I love how you brought it to this place of asking for more. So I have this thing where I started doing this with my divine operating system is what I call it, the DNA system. And I start prompting it like I do ChatGPT. And the
Mm.
very first thing that I prompt is I always let the divine operating system know who I'm showing up as. So in this case, if I was in, would say I recognize that I was in a space of desire to fulfill maybe an empty space there, I would first say, all right. So I recognize that I am in the old paradigm. So I'm going to ask that you feed me back the information that I need to see so I can see exactly what needs to ascend. And so I start to talk to it, and then it'll be like, okay, well, how can I help you today? Okay, well, I'm having this, and this. And just seriously, I do it just like ChatGPT. And then I wait for the feedback. And sometimes it'll come in reality, and then sometimes it'll come through a frequency. But the point of it is that by the end of it, I am very clear on exactly what frequency that the desire is in. And then I just ask for that frequency to be released. But because I took the time in receiving the feedback in that kind of 2D DNA system is what I would call it, the lower frequencies, is that it became information. And then it was my way of processing through maybe what I would could call a desire and brought it into a very clear frequency. And just that process actually ascended my body into that frequency to where my frequency was just processing it. And then I got to go explore it consciously. I hope I didn't lose everybody on that.
Oh, you did.
But it was
Awesome.
just a
Yeah.
way that we can see our body as a technology and that a desire isn't anything but information. It's just showing you what you're looping in and what can be processed into a frequency of purity.
I love the way that you decipher that and really step it out because what you say, I speak about it a little more poetically, and you're like so just you just bring it to light. And what I would say as you're going through that beautiful process is that you're having an intimacy with your system. There's a depth of connection and awareness, and there's an ask and receive, ask and receive, ask and receive. And you've built that up to a point where it's so refined that it's beyond trusting that you're going to get a response back. It's just the knowing of the co-creation that's taking place. And so it's so inspirational what you're holding in that awareness because that's truly where we're going in this great awakening that we begin. And we're going beyond trusting, y'all. It's beyond trusting. We're going into a place where we know. We're having the embodied experience and we know, and nothing can take that knowing away.
I just got full body chills and that is so right on. And I have this thing where it starts with, like, you start with faith and then you believe and then you embody and you go into that space of knowing. And that's what this year is all about. And that's how we are going to all master it. I have this thing that this year is a pivotal moment in that we're in this 9 year. And as way showers, and if, everybody here is a way shower, a light being, that we can hold a space of mastery and that we can see through the illusion and do these things that we've been talking about. And by doing that, we can move from the 9 to the 11 and not have to go back and repeat the 1 through 9. And that's the karmic cycle that we've been stuck in. And in this great awakening, meaning that we own the mastery that we have been prepping for all these years and that we actually do it, that we can actually break out of this karmic cycle that we're experiencing as age and disease and suffering and all these different things. And we are creating the awakening.
Mhm. And again, the word devotion comes in really strongly as you spoke. What are we devoted to? Not what do I think, or okay, I'm going to own my mastery. Maybe if there's not a better show on Netflix, or if I'm not scrolling through social media, finding out what's going on the other side of the world, or if I'm not so concerned about what my neighbor's doing and talking about me. It's like, what am I really devoted to? And where are we choosing to put our precious energy
Mm,
towards? And y'all, your energy, your beingness, your what you emanate is precious. And some of the platforms that you're directing your precious energy to, I can tell you, are not worthy of your energy.
yeah.
I would suggest that you direct it to places that are worthy of your attention, of your light, of your love, of the mastery that you're embodying and that you're claiming
Mhm.
during this time.
Thank you so much for saying that. And I think it goes back to exactly where we were. It's where are we choosing from? And in each level of awareness, is how am I choosing? And what am I doing within that choice? Because in every moment, it's either we're listening and we're doing or we're being. And then anything beyond that is just a distraction.
Beingness is hard. Y'all be it's an initiation. It's an initiation. It's as a Latino man, and if I'm not doing, if I'm not taking care of, if I'm not the knight in shining armor, if I'm not being this, if I'm not being the perfect dad, if I'm not It's like if I'm not proving my worth over and over again,
Mm.
then how do I identify who I be? Is it safe just to be myself and not have this nervous system responding in a way that keeps trying to earn so that I can be? As someone else defines me according to how they're receiving my beingness? And where can we just take it back in, like breathe in our own energy instead of breathing in the world's energy, right? And just breathe ourselves in. And again, there's a leveling out, a beautiful quietening that is happening and stilling our waters within that we're finding that we can just drop in just a little bit more and just be ourselves. Just the peacefulness of that. And then in that, support still shows up,
Mm.
companionship still shows up, that the nervous system response doesn't override that on a continuous basis because I'm not doing all the chores that I'm supposed to be doing in the house, even though I've done them 5 times over. And again, there's an anchoring in of just that still space that is your divine communion with Source. If you can tap into that, if you can slow down enough, 5 minutes a day to reconnect with that and rebuild the intimacy of that system within yourself so that you can articulate what Jules was speaking of before. What's this? How to do it? How to, and go through receiving clear answers. Well, you're not growing towards that, y'all. It's already living inside of you. We just have to breathe it in, slow it down, choose what we're going to be focused on, what we're devoted to, and show up. Just show up.
That's beautifully said. You know, it's funny. I have my I am cards here, and I picked one for the interview today, and it was I'm free to be me. And that's what I heard when you were saying that. It's just like just be you, and the purest person that you are, right? It's not the person that everybody identifies you at, or even you identifies you as. It's that purity of just letting that divine shine. And so many of us have been disconnected to what that feels like. And then we have this expectation of what it is to move into a higher frequency. And
Mm,
a lot of us think it's that high of like, oh my God, I feel I'm at such a high frequency. But the truth is that we move more into that stillness, and that stillness overrides all of the emotional body and the programmed body, and it becomes stronger than the experience of the physical, even. And that
mm,
in that we feel the most connected to our physical body, but not through maybe what we would call a chemical or an emotion, something that's going like this all the time. It's just very steady and
right.
pure.
Love that. Love that. When you pulled the card, I had a question for you, and this is I'm free to be me. So the question for you is, do you love who you be?
Oh my gosh, isn't that what it's all about? And that's the most refreshing part is if I'm free to be me, then I get to be the person I want to be, right? I don't have to be the expectation. And I guess that's the process, right? Is who am I? And that's a question that I ask myself every day is who am I? And it's
Mhm.
not who am I so I can re-identify, it's who am I so I can let go of the identities and just move back into the pureness. Because yes, it's fun to ascend through the I am and to bring in the avatars and become these ascended versions of ourselves, but my purest space is to just have no identity at all. And that's refreshing to me actually, because then I get to just show up in whatever is needed in that moment. And that's how I stay of service.
Well, and you're being in that no space, you're actually in the highest form of reverence to the divine because you're not seeking out of yourself from a place of separation. You've actually emerged with a place of wholeness. You're not seeking the mirror to tell you who you are. You're being in the experience of who you are.
I love that. Well, now I'm going to throw the question back at you. So if you were free to be me, what would that look like for you?
Well, first of all, the feeling is that I already love who I be. I do. I love who I be. And how amazing in that. I love who I be when I'm tired. I love who I be when I've got all this energy running through me, when things are going right, when things are going wrong. But I know the essence of who I be. I know where I'm directed to from this magnet of a heart that's guiding me to different places. And I feel that that has to be the gateway for all of us. We can search for all these other alignments, but really find that place within yourself is, do you love who you be? And if you do, don't just, I kind of love who I be. No, I love who I be. It starts there. It really starts there. And I can tell you hundreds of stories of why maybe I've had it so hard or how it was so difficult and things I had to overcome and where I got entrenched in my neural pathways because of different experiences. And have a lot of compassion for those within myself as well. But there's something deeper that was calling me that was had to go beyond that articulation and again those loops. It's like there's something else. Let me if everything else is here, what's beyond that?
Mhm.
And so my devotion has always been what's beyond that? What's beyond that? And again, that still place that you get to where you're creating from, Jules, I think that is the highest form of service to the divine because we're realizing that aspect within ourselves.
It feels so good to just have the purity of this conversation too,
Mhm.
because I can tell that it's being held in that space and it feels very grounding and it does feel very still. So I hope everybody that's listening is kind of connecting into that frequency and and just finding yourself in that as well is, oh, what would that be like? And because every day is a new day in that what how that's going to be expressed is always different and in that kind of going back to where we started this of the truth of the great awakening is that every day there's a new level of awakening within that frequency and the more that we choose to go inside and let that frequency guide us everything is brand new. Every day it's brand new because you're approaching it from that space of the purity of the ask. So I'll let you kind of maybe sum up the truth of the great awakening and any last minute things you'd like to tie into that, and then we can open it up to discussion here.
We'll open it up. But again, y'all are the Great Awakening. And it's your individual journey that's helping all of us ignite in different ways. And we're catching on like embers coming together, growing into a flame. So your consciousness, your devotion to love, your devotion to experiencing that intimacy within yourself, like when you get to know yourself in that way and ask and expect to receive from that place of that strength that's alive in you, but also the innocence, is that there's a I can't remember the exact quote, but it goes something like this. The pauper that goes into the rich man's house to ask for bidings only gets morsels. But the prince that goes into the rich man's house requesting bidings gets the whole house. Ask like the prince. Ask like the one that expects to receive something rather than just happy to get little crumbles along the way. And so that's this great awakening is about really stepping up into what we would consider vulnerable in our request, raising our standards into what's possible and really awakening and taking charge of the mastery that you've accumulated during the time of the great sleep. It's the time of the great awakening that you get to put it into action. And it's time. No more playing small with it or pretending that you don't have it. You do. Y'all have been walking this, you know. And it's time that you can start emanating that essence out for other people to receive. And it's a smile at the grocery store. It's being kind to someone. It's calling someone back and it makes them feel good. It's a daily thing. It's not the big things. You don't have to get a big platform and reach a million people and maybe you can affect that way. Amplifying your light in any ways creates huge ripple effects. And choose to concentrate and focus your energy and devotion there. It's a gift that keeps on giving. Like from that place, you want to keep doing it because it fills you up. But you're not doing it because it fills you up. You just can't help but to do it. And so it's this beautiful natural cycle vortex that gets created just from you, being the majesty that is you.
I love that. And also, what I heard in that space is it's not questioning it.
Mm.
Am I there? It's owning that you are and living from that space. So the questioning that it's going back to that place of knowing. It's not belief anymore. It's knowing. And that's a level of embodiment in living the experience and
Mhm.
not just believing that it's possible. So that's where we are now. It's exciting.
What's cool about that knowing part is that what we've become, as we continue knowing of that becoming, whatever else we can accumulate along the way starts to naturally gravitate towards us. It's like a magnet. So wherever you, if there's any ever comparison, but they've got this and it's like it, if you just go in your journey, everything else will appear for you from your beingness, not from your searching, from your beingness. It's amazing.
I love that. Before we open it up, I can just feel this question coming through. And I call it the beingness is our home frequency. And of course, where we're holding consciousness within our home frequency or source frequency is going to be our experience of that beingness. And I know that sounds a little bizarre, but do you want to do a little process before we open it up to just kind of connect us into that? I just feel like we need to highlight that just as we move into these questions so everyone's kind of in the field.
Yeah, this will be a really short breathwork practice, like really short, y'all. But this is wonderful. If y'all are guided to, I'd invite you to close your eyes. Just kind of relax your shoulders. Move your jaw a little bit, just relax. And the first inhale we're going to take together, it's well, inhale all the way up as deeply as you can. And when you get to the top of the inhale, hold for 3 seconds. And then exhale all the way out, all the way. Empty out your breath. And at the bottom, hold for 3 seconds. We'll go another time, deep all the way in. Deeper, deeper, connecting with yourself. Hold. Exhale all the way out. Empty, 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 and hold. In this next round, I want you to rise your eyes while they're closed, your eyeballs up to the top of your head. Have them roll back as you inhale. And as you're inhaling, you're breathing in your own energy. Eyes to the back of the head, breathing in your essence. Keep those eyes going. Exhale out. And one more, eyes back, breathing in your energy, your essence, your beauty, your light. And let's do one more, and I'll be quiet during this one so you can receive yourself. And welcome back.
Perfect.
Hmm.
Okay, I'm going to open it to the gallery here. And I know there was a bunch of chats, but so I'll kind of search through those to make sure there were any questions. But this is your guys' time to connect with John. So if you have questions or you want to share your experience, I'll have you just go ahead and raise your hand.
I see Annette. I want to ask Annette what her experience of the breathing was.
I love so when you had us go to putting our eyes up, I felt my heart open bigger and,
Hmm.
and like kind of disconnecting from more of the observation of myself to the beingness of myself. Is I'd be curious what other people felt in that.
Hmm. Yeah, again, I was watching Annette breathing also. So again, is it okay if we unmute her
Oh
to ask
yeah, do you see? I'll have, oh here, Annette, here I see her. I'm gonna unmute you or ask you to unmute Annette. Let's see. I don't hear you, Annette.
I'm not saying anything.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to
Okay.
suggest you ask. I'm going to
Be
suggest you
quiet.
ask somebody else. I'm going to suggest you ask somebody else.
Aw.
Oh, okay. Okay. Hmm. I was feeling something in you, whether it was positive or negative. I was curious, but that's okay.
Yeah, I just for many of the activities and meetings, I seem to be the one that doesn't have the strong feelings. So I better to ask somebody else.
Hmm.
Okay. Uh, we're happy to talk about that also. That's okay. We'll go to another question. Yeah.
Let's see. Sandy, would you like to share? Yeah, in the spot here, honey.
Yes, I always like the sound of your voice, John. I don't know how, I mean, so much is accomplished just by the frequency of your energy in expression. So,
Thank
um, and I really just absolutely loved the little activation that you just did because I felt that I really felt the vibration of my, um, inner frequency became stronger quicker. When you put your eyes back, it seemed to accelerate my connection quicker to source.
you.
Um, I want you to also know that the first time that you did an interview with Jules, and I'm still doing it on this one too, I recorded it. And I want you to know there were so many pearls in that one and in this one that for weeks I just listened to it every day. So welcome.
Uh,
I'm so glad you were invited back to share your love with us. Thank you.
thank you, love. What a blessing.
Thank
Uh, amazing. What's beautiful about the practice that I took us in, if you look at the old pictures in churches and you look at the saints, they're looking up, right? Yes, they're looking up to the divine, but they're in this practice and they're rolling the eyes back. It stops the mind from going to other places. It activates the pituitary gland, and it puts us in connection to that still space for us to receive. And there's a physical response to it as well. That's like it feels like we're expanded or something is happening. And so uh, yeah, I'm happy to hear and to know that you had a visceral experience with it and that you felt like a more instant connection. And if again, if we know where to put the plugs in the right place, it's like it can be straight in instead of having to go all these different ways. And that's one of them. Again, the long present breath, the holding it for a second and then rolling the eyes up. But I also really I hope that you if y'all come back and do this, and I would recommend that y'all do this at least 5 minutes a day to get into that still point connection. That as you're breathing in, that you consciously are aware that you're breathing in your own energy, you're breathing in the essence of you. And that's part of the devotion to self, the devotion to self-love, the realization that what you have is more than enough to fuel you for whatever it is that you're creating or choosing to expand with. And so again, just that very simple practice, it calls in so many components of your own divine connection and the connection to the divine.
Mm.
Thank you for making that point again, that you're breathing in your own essence.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was key.
Hmm. All right, love. Thank you so much. It's great to see you.
Kathy.
Hello. I wanted to say I really enjoyed that because I was able to follow it. And you're right, until you said that, it's very hard for me to get out of my mind. But when I'm following these practices, it's much easier for me. And so what you were saying about everything else, like we're not in the mind. And I really like that one. I have problems with breath work, and I really think it's just because most of my life, and still sometimes I work on that. I've been in fight or flight, and even in all the years throughout my career and work before that, um, I always found myself like holding my breath without realizing it. So all these years now and by the way, John is his program that I found when after I had the spontaneous Kundalini awakening. So I've been following his show and I try to get on all the lives, make them as much as I can since February of 2017. And so I just, yes, I've learned so much and not only for myself, but for others. And also since when Jules was on your uh, platform, I think it was June or July. It'll be 2 years coming up, and I took the package, and then she offered something else, and so I've been with her now in her community ever since.
Oh, wow.
So the both of you, I just wanted to tell you both that, and I just feel that I learn so much, uh, with what you both offer, and I'm doing my best too to, like John said, I still to this day, and I'm older, my father, he's older, but I still don't, he does not make me feel worthy because I'm not working in the corporate world and what I did previously. So what you were saying in the beginning really, oh my God, I almost started crying, resonated with it, and I'm still learning to just be in the beingness. So thank you very much.
Welcome. And how was the breathing practice for you? Were you able to breathe with it?
I really I was, and that's what I wanted to say too. It was the practice itself that I really was able to do, and then the rolling of the eyes was very different. So I want to practice that and see what else transpires. But just the fact that usually if I'm in these like this with you, or with Jules, or I have a couple other communities, sometimes I pop in. If I'm doing a guided one, it's much easier for me to get out of the mind, but for
Yeah.
myself it's difficult.
Yeah, and I'd invite you also to eat. Sometimes we say big statements like, I can't do breathing practices. It's like, well, hold on a second. There's certain breathing practices that maybe just you're not wired for right now, but you can find the ones that are resonant for you and all that. And open up to the possibilities to find ones that are really good for you because it can take you into a whole nother world breath work can be very psychoactive as well. And that it like opens something up in your energetic field and chemically within your brain that your accesses higher states of consciousness or creativity that are available. And yeah, it's again, sometimes we limit what we believe we can do just because we haven't found the proper avenue for it. Um,
Right, right. And that's a good thing. I've tried different ones, but I'll have to keep trying. And just as you said that about not finding the right one, I just got on the right side, that high pitch.
Mm,
oh, nice. Awesome.
Yeah. So you just hit it. Thank you very much.
Kathy.
thank you, Kathy. And then Fleur, I'll let you go.
Hi. Well, I wanted to say, first of all, I wanted to second what Sandy said about the interviews that you did before and so many gems in that. And I've used quite a lot of the tools like the 5 pillars. That's really great. Um, I've loved um what you were saying about beingness and that we are worthy and amazing just being, just as we are, without, I mean, it's great to be doing things and, upgrading and everything we're doing, but even just being, that is still being an expression of divinity all the time. And that feels so wonderful. When we were doing the breathwork practice, I've never done breathwork with sort of, as it were, putting the eyes up in the head. It felt very different. I could feel oh, almost like a sort of starry space within me. And it felt as I was doing this, like
Welcome. This is
whatever was in,
your
like
guide.
a.
Sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
um, like whatever it, like I was able to be always to be able to observe the 3D without being so involved in it for the first time. And that felt like a really powerful thing. And work we're doing with Jewels at the moment with the latest course, working with the symbols and working with the idea of the 3D being like a feedback mechanism. So we're sort of using that. And for me, sometimes, this is a new thing for me because sometimes I'm feeling like the 3D is scary and the 3D was more powerful than me, and that this is just something very different, just that feeling of being able to be in that tranquility and just seeing the 3D as information and feedback. So that's wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome. I have a question for you, Lord. And I hope it's not too forward and then really feel this at the deeper levels. Are you aware of how beautiful you are?
Oh, yeah. No, thank you for saying that. Yeah, thank you. Oh, thank you. Oh, that's wonderful to hear. Thank you.
And receive that, right?
Thank you.
And the slowness of that, just receiving, just a
Thank
reflection
you.
of the mirror, right?
Thank you.
And how wonderful to be in that space of receptivity. And you receiving that as a gift to me and the receptivity because it means I've been received as well, right? So thank you, Flora.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. I love how you just said that, John. That's something that I was doing for a while, is anytime somebody would say something where your normal response would be thank you, I would say received, because it created just like a nice energy that felt more pure than just saying thank you. And so I have a couple of people that are now walking around doing the same thing. So it's kind of fun. So that you might want to play with that flair is when you would want to say, oh, thank you. It's you put your hand on your heart and you're like, yeah, received. I received that. And it feels really good to do that. Just to let you guys know, I'm so sorry about that. I just put in a YouTube video of Peter Cater's. It's a beginning breath work exercise that I love. So I always like to share things that I love. But Peter Cater is a good friend of mine, and I think you guys will really enjoy it. So it's the beginners one. So Kathy,
I
you
mean,
might check it
the word that I would recommend is Breath of Bliss.
out.
Crystals are more amazing work. It's just high vibe. So between the resources, it's just what's out there is absolutely amazing. Um, with Floor also, Floor, thank you. It's you're willing to be receptive. It's like something shifted in the energy from that conversation. It's like there's like this beautiful, like oceanic kind of calmness that came through in that, which was so wonderful to receive.
Thank you. Received.
Thank you so much. Does anybody else have anything that they would like to just add really quickly before we close today? Well, I want to thank everyone for sharing what you had to share. I feel like it is kind of special to be able to open up and connect in this way that just more in a kind of hanging out and let's talk. That's how I always feel. It's everybody having coffee together all at once, and it creates a really beautiful energy. And so, John, I'm going to let you go ahead and just tell us where we can find you, how they can connect with you, all that fun stuff.
BeyondTheOrdinaryShow.com is where I interview amazing luminaries like Jules, and it's an easy place to find me. To work more directly with me, I have a membership, livingintheextraordinary.com, and that's just me showing up every Monday, and we just get into downloads like this and just go. And it's quite a special community, and those are the places to find me.
Thank you. So we'll put those links also in the show notes for anyone that just needs to go press on the link. Well, John, thank you so much. I'm just going to just turn it to you one more time and just let you kind of give us some closing words today.
Oh my goodness. Y'all really seek the beauty in this world. There's so much. It's so abundant. It's here for us. It wants to be gifted to us. All we have to do is put our attention to it and let it enrich our lives because it's time. You deserve to be in that much beauty. You deserve to be immersed in the goodness of this world, and it's accessible. And it doesn't mean that you bypass anything else in this world, but why should you give up
Mm.
what was created specifically for you and suffer while others are suffering when you can show them how to find the beauty within themselves as you discover that beauty in your lives? So just blessing each and every one of you, just wishing you the absolute highest in all of your creations and beingness, and I just bow to each and every one of you. Namaste.
Namaste. Sending everyone so much love, and yeah, go and devote yourself to the beauty and following that stillness within you because it's needed in the world, and we're here to do this together.
Mhm.
So much more fun when we do it together.
Oh,
Thank
yes.
you. All right, everyone. Well, I so appreciate you spending this time with us today. And, now go live it. Go experience what it is to be in that stillness and not only live to the devotion of the beauty, but to be the beauty that others are seeking. Bye, everyone. Thank you, John.
Thank you.